Hello, and welcome back to the Law of Attraction Tribe podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Keith, and today we are going to talk about expanding your money mindset, your access to income and abundance, and all of the things that you 100% are absolutely worthy of and deserving of at your core level. Even though we have all of these layers that tell us that we're not because of societal conditioning. And we'll get into all that. But you guys, this is the last week to get into the Millionaires Mastermind. Doors are closing Friday at midnight. So this is going to be for anyone that wants to change their money reality. You know, I always say manifest a life you don't need a vacation from. This is that. This is what I am here to help you do. I feel like this is why I was put here on earth, because I did it for myself. And now I feel so called to help other people do the same thing, because now that I know that it's absolutely possible and it's so much easier than we think. Like we all think, well, it's possible for them, but not for me. That is not the case at all. It is so possible, but what you have to do is put yourself in a situation where you can expand your mindset and expand what's possible. And you do that by putting yourself in a situation with other people who, number one, have already manifested it, and number two, that are different than you because they're able to see what you can't see. We go through life on autopilot, and we go through life with all of our beliefs playing a role in how we view the external world. And they could literally block us from seeing opportunities that are right in front of our eyes. And so this is an opportunity to put yourself in a scenario where, number one, you can get really crystal clear on what you want. I mean, the last round of the mastermind, there were some shocking things. I mean, there were things that people really didn't think that they were going to do. It never had crossed their mind before, but then became crystal clear that like this was their purpose and they were able to move forward with that. So it's going to help you do that. It's going to help you learn how to have awareness of the things that are holding you back and how to move through those, how to move through the negativity and the guilt and the judgment and the jealousy and all of those things that literally block us from abundance. And then it's going to help you take action and bring those goals into your reality to align with the best possible path for you. And it's so much easier to move forward and to take action when you have a whole network of support. And all of the women from the last round, we all are a tight-knit group now. We're, lifelong friends. We're communicating and supporting and cheering each other on. So while the mastermind is only 6 weeks, it's really a lifetime support system of other people who are in the same mindset, who are using manifestation to manifest a life they love, to follow their dreams and create this abundant life. And you don't always find that in your group of friends in real life, but this is an opportunity to have that support system. So doors close Friday at midnight. Make sure you get in by then and reach out if you have any questions. All right, so let's talk about this whole idea of expansion, because we're very programmed and conditioned to think a certain way. And I know I've talked about this a million times, but it's such a good way to explain it, and how we are conditioned from the time we enter school, really from the time we're born, and then all throughout our life with this worker mindset. So you grow up and you see your parents like going and working for someone else and, making enough money, but probably in most cases, never more than enough, and hearing a lot of limiting beliefs around money and having to make a lot of sacrifices and not seeing many people that are fulfilled in what they're doing or feel like they have the freedom to follow their dreams, right? And when you're in school, it's like the entire, 12 years of elementary school, middle school, high school is priming you to believe that, like, okay, I'm going to work really hard so that I could go and get a job someday, And so you have all these people that are graduating as workers with a worker mindset. I'm going to go work for a big company and they're going to take care of me. And it's such a powerless place to be in. And it's totally fine if you want to be a worker and you want to go work for a company. But there's this mindset that you have no control. Like you have to rely and be dependent on external sources to take care of you, whether that's a boss, a company, the government, your spouse, your parents. Like we're very in this mode of relying on things externally and feeling like we really don't have a lot of control or leadership skills in our own life. And so it's no wonder, we all end up going and getting the job and really not feeling fulfilled and putting up with a lot of crap because we don't feel like we have a lot of other options. But we do. Like that is what's so crazy to me is we do. So like I look at my parents and think like, oh my gosh, like how did they have this mindset back then? Because when I was a kid, they had such an entrepreneurial spirit. Like they started an ice cream like cookie shop. It was called Cookies and Cream. And they like got, friends involved and invested money and like just went for it. And they had like a bunch of different things that they tried. And back then, to do something like that, to break free from being a worker and to create something that's yours was so hard and so risky because, you didn't have technology, you didn't have the internet. You had to go and get a brick and mortar location, which required a bank loan or putting your whole savings into it. Advertising was insanely expensive, and you were only marketing to your, small little local community of people that are like driving by. And yet they did it. Like they went for it, and they went for it multiple times. Like if something failed, they would try something else. And I grew up with that mentality and that spirit. And my dad, he was a fireman, which meant he worked 24 hours on, 48 hours off. And he always told me like, well, I like being home with you kids. So no, like I don't want to go get a normal job, a 9-to-5 job. And then he decided that on his 48 hours off at the age of 35, he was going to go to law school and become a lawyer. And he did that. And he had the option to go and work for some big law firm and basically, again, be beholden to a company and work his butt off. But he decided to start his own business, his own law firm, which he still does that today. And my mom, like, she always has been so open to like all possibilities. And her and I, from the time I can remember, we would go like on the days that my dad would be at the firehouse. A lot of times we would go and just do whatever, like go grab lunch or go shopping. And we would just sit and have these like long conversations about all of the possibilities. And we would think of businesses we're going to start and products we're going to invent. And later on, when I got married, my husband would kind of laugh at us and he's like, oh my God, like, what are you inventing now? Because we would have so much fun with it. And I'm so grateful for that because I think that really paved the way for what I'm doing now, was having someone that said it's okay to think big and it's okay to expand your mindset. And there isn't just one way of doing things. You don't have to settle for what's average, what most people do. And sometimes it's better to go a separate path, and that there's infinite possibilities, and you get to decide what kind of lifestyle you want. You get to decide, what you're going to do. And of course, I had to learn that the hard way, right? Getting out of college and having this big fancy job thrown in my face and a fat paycheck and company car and all these kinds of things. And I fell for it, I fell for it because I still had all that programming from schooling and everything else. But if I hadn't had that drive from my parents and seen their spirit of what's possible, I don't know that I would be in this situation I am today. Like if they were, very hell bent on like just having a good job and that's just what you do. And sometimes it sucks and you're just going to suck it up and go for it. I don't know that I would have left. I really don't. In fact, I worried about what they thought because they were very proud of me and how far I had gotten in my career and the stability of like having health insurance and that kind of thing. So I was like really nervous to tell them that I wasn't going to be returning. And surprisingly, like they were all about it. I mean, they were like, hell yeah, like this is great. You get to be home with your kids. And I mean, they were ecstatic. And so you got to find that in your life because a lot of times we don't get that opportunity. You might not have parents or a spouse or friends or coworkers that really understand and are willing to like sit down and have these conversations of what's possible. And you can find that though. Like that's the thing because right now we have the whole entire world at our fingertips. And it still blows my mind every single time I think about it because I think about my parents with that ice cream store and, paying all this money to get in the yellow pages and like putting signs out and like having like a fair in the parking lot to attract people and just all this hard work that you had to put into it. And I'm like, now I have my phone. I could advertise for free on social media, on Pinterest, on my podcast. If I do pay for an ad, it's like so cheap compared to that. I don't have to have a brick and mortar location. Like I'm literally in my bedroom right now recording this. And it gives me that drive to know that my parents and my grandparents and all the people before us had to work so hard at it. And we have literally everything we need at our fingertips. We even have AI now that will like write you a business plan, write you a marketing strategy, write you a social media content strategy. And pretty soon, AI agents that'll like do all this shit for you. So it's like there's no excuse. Like, what are we doing? Like, take control of your life. And the bottom line is you're not going to do it though if you don't have that expansiveness. You don't have that support network of allowing you, giving you that permission to think bigger and believe in all possibility. And you can absolutely 100% give that permission to yourself. But what I've found like in my own personal experience is it's always hard. It's not impossible because I did it for years. But it is hard going at it alone. And it's really ideal if you can get yourself in a situation where you find people, whether it's a Facebook group, whether it's someone in your local community, maybe it's someone online that is like a few steps ahead of you that you reach out to, but just like find those people that are going to help you expand and that are going to cheer you on and show you a new possibility. And I just think that is something that we have so abundantly available to us, but not many people are taking advantage of because maybe you don't understand the importance of it. But I mean, still to this day, like I spend an outrageous amount of money on coaching, not for someone to give me like a strategy or tell me, I did this and you should do that and blah, blah, blah. It's for the energy, for the expansive energy. Because if I'm working with someone that has a 7-figure business going on 8 figures this year, it doesn't matter what they say or what they teach, just being around them and hearing how they talk about their business and their money and their products and their offerings, it immediately puts me in this expansive mindset of like, wow, that's possible. Like you could do that. Like you know what I mean? Like, it just puts you in this whole other way of being that might have seemed so far-fetched and so impossible. But now that you see this person right next to you that's not that different from you, there's really nothing they have that you don't, right? But they have expanded to a bigger place. They have found more possibility. And now that you're in that energy and you're seeing it, it's like, oh, wow. Yeah, I guess you're right. Like, I never did see that before. Never realized how easy it is to make 7 figures in your business. I never looked at, how simplifying things can actually bring in more money. And so it puts you in this whole other mindset. And, another thing, it's like if you've ever been around someone who is like a lot wealthier, and you just like go out to lunch with them and you just notice like how they act and how they look at the bill and tip and pay and how they talk about things. It's very different. And that was another thing before I ever started my business, before I got into like getting a coach or a mentor. We had moved into our dream home. We had our dream home built in Florida. And it was still very uncomfortable for me in a way because I had like expanded so quickly and manifested so much that like I almost felt like, oh my gosh, these people are gonna judge me. Like, here I am, this like 30-year-old that's, living in this beautiful home in this nice neighborhood. And I felt like I didn't fit in. I felt like the outsider. And very quickly, I realized, that wasn't the case. And I started to like learn from the people that I started hanging out with. And I immediately noticed that the way that they viewed things and the way that they talked about, different things that they were doing to their house or like putting in a pool or buying a new car or whatever, they just looked at things with such an expansive mindset. Like it was no big deal. And I think that was it. It was like it was no big deal. It wasn't like, oh my God, I wish I could have this. It would be so cool. It was like, well, I want this. So how can I get it? And it was just like so certain, like, I want a new car, so how can I get it? Okay, I'm going to do this, this, and that. And all right, cool. I'm going to go buy my new car. Like it was just this knowing that whatever they wanted, they could have, and they could just decide it and a way would come. And they certainly were not into the law of attraction, yet they were like living the law of attraction principles without even realizing it. And so I drew on that, and it really expanded me at that time. And I just look at the way that I interact with money now and with things that I want and what I see is possible. And it's like night and day from where I started when we first moved into this home. And it's like a whole other life. I feel like I quantum leaped like 10 timelines from where I was when I graduated college to now. And the point being is every step of the way, I've had a guiding like group. I've always put myself in situations where I am around people that are a step ahead of me. And without that, I can pretty much guarantee like I wouldn't be where I am today. Or if I were, it would take me a hell of a lot longer. But it's like when you put yourself in those situations, you immediately just become the average of that. Like your energy averages out at the energy of the whole. And when you think about that, if you're hanging around with a bunch of people that are the opposite, that are like 2 steps behind and like have this really bad mindset and are like making fun of you for thinking about the law of attraction or whatever, then, you're going to average out around that too. So just think about that and think about like, all right, where am I at right now? What are my expanders and what are my limiters? And how can I move into a more expansive environment? How can I seek out people that, not even to ask for advice, but like literally just to be in their energy, whether it's in person or online. doesn't really matter as much as just being around and seeing how they interact and seeing what they see as possible. It will expand your mindset and your energy. And that is when you do these like massive quantum leaps and it's like you become a different version of yourself that just believes in bigger things for your life and knows that it can happen and that you're worthy of it and that it's not bad and that you can have it. And it changes you on like every level imaginable. And when, we get into the science of manifestation and we look at how energy works, it makes sense, right? It makes sense that really every particle down to every atom in your being shifts. So put yourself in those situations that are going to shift you forward, shift you more towards your goal rather than backwards. And I promise you, it's like magic. It's the quickest way to get to where you want to be. And again, I'm offering this Millionaires Mastermind. I know that was the expander for all of the women in the last round. And it can be your expander as well if you're feeling it. Like, I always say trust your intuition. And if you're getting that nudge, trust it. And if not, then that's okay. But look for something else. Like maybe there's a Facebook group you can join or a mentor you can reach out to, or maybe you want some one-on-one coaching, or maybe you want to meet people in your local community. But just find that expander and go for it, because it's going to help you shift and it's going to make things feel so much easier, so much more expansive, and allow you to feel way more supported. So I hope that motivated you. And a reminder, doors close for the mastermind Friday at midnight. So I will link it in the show notes. It's also on my Instagram page and, all the places. So get in there if you can. I would love to work with you guys. And it's a tight-knit group, so it'll be a lot of fun. It's great energy. We call it disco ball energy, which I can't even put into words because it's so freaking epic. So I hope to see you in there. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you back here next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. And did you guys know that I have a free money course? I will link it in the show notes for you. It's also linked on my Instagram. It's on my website, thelawofattractiontribe.com. You just click on the button right there that says Manifest Money. And I'm going to send you my little course on the wealth mindset of rich people versus the middle class, and how different it is, and how you can change those things and start stepping into a wealthier version of you. And you get a free abundance affirmations audio when you sign up for the course. So go grab that if you haven't already. And I also have the Manifest It Now app. So you hear me talk about subliminals all the time, and the workshops that we do, and the meditations and the guided visualizations and all the things. You can find those all in the app. So just go to your app store, search for Manifest It Now, and I will see you inside. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you can, leave a review for the show, share this episode with a friend that can benefit from it, post it on your Instagram story so I can repost it to mine. And I'll see you back here next time.